ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate katham. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hrudi vishamanasa chinvata majjata pavana chalana atmanishto deham brahmayavat jadatmakam aham buddhirna tasyastyato naham tattata bhava shukti samaye siddhatma saddha oham bhavayuta kuto varabhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, it has been our practice to read 2 verses selected for us from the work Guruvachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swamigal. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that will be followed by the practice of Atmaucharam for about 10 minutes. After these 2 segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and self-enquiry are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Dileep ji today, and that will be followed by the offering of Sri Ramanastotram. The chanting will be by Vaibhavji and Pratnama online, and the puja team is still away in the US, so we'll be offering ourselves in self-enquiry during the chanting of the Ramanastotram by inquiring as to who is the real listener. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we begin the satsang by going to the first verse randomly selected for us by Revati ji, verse number 647. We find this verse in the middle segment of the work, Meditation on the Truth. The first segment being investigation into truth, and the last segment being Anubhava or experience of the truth. The middle is meditation on the truth. 647, we find in the subsegment Suttarivu. Suttarivu is a Tamil word which indicates objective knowledge, the knowledge of objects. Suttarivu, elimination of Suttarivu is the subsegment. The verse is 647. There is a note from Muruganar Swamigal. The verse is like this: if you remain still without paying attention to this, without paying attention to that, and without paying attention to anything at all, you will simply through your powerful attention to being become the reality, the vast I, the unbounded space of consciousness. So the Suttarivu elimination will naturally bring us to the attention to the self. Suttarivu being objective knowledge. The elimination of that will automatically bring us to attention to the self. Let's read it again. If you remain still without paying attention to this, without paying attention to that, and without paying attention to anything at all, you will simply through your powerful attention to being become the reality, the vast I, the unbounded space of consciousness. The note from Muruganar Swamigal. This verse describes the state of remaining still, which is also known as the elimination of Suttarivu. Muruganar added the following two references from Thayumanavar and Arunagirinathar to his comment. Thayumanavar is a sage whose works, especially on silence, are referred to by Bhagwan himself many times in the old hall. Arunagirinathar, of course, is the poet saint who is a devotee of Murugar. The two references are like this. First from Thayumanavar, Udal Poyuravu. If we truly see without seeing, if we truly see without seeing the inner light, not investigating, not thinking at all, will not the flood of bliss come, spreading in all the 10 directions, rising up in surging waves to overflow its banks? If we truly see without seeing the inner light, not investigating, not thinking at all, will not the flood of bliss come, spreading in all the 10 directions, rising up in surging waves to overflow its banks? That is from Thayumanavar. The reference from Arunagirinathar. The moment he said, "Be still," without words, in the state of Mauna, Summa iru sol ara. This is the Upadesha given by Murugar to Arunagirinathar. Be still with all objective knowledge stilled. Solara can be taken as the spoken or the subtle words that arise in us. The moment he said, "Be still," without words, in the state of Mauna, nothing remained for me to know. What a wonder is this! In Kandar Anubhuti. Kandar Anubhuti itself means Anubhava of Skanda or Anubhava of the limitless self. Back to the verse. If you remain still without paying attention to this, without paying attention to that, without paying attention to anything at all, you will simply through your powerful attention to being become the reality, the vast I, the unbounded space of consciousness. The word become merely indicates that we will realize our nature to be that. The Sutta river, the objective knowledge having been eliminated by being still. How to eliminate the objective knowledge? Summa iruttal. In another work of Bhagavan, by the title Atmavidya Sankirtanam. Atmavidya Sankirtanam, Bhagavan says that Kanmadi Kattavila, Janmadi Nashtam Ela, Emmargam Adaninum, Immargam Mikkelidu. Of all the paths to get freed of the bonds of karma and from the sorrow of repeated births, the path indicated is the easiest, says Bhagavan. Emmargam Adaninum, Immargam Mikkelidu. What is the margam suggested? What is the path suggested? Sol Manada Tanuvil Kanmadi Siridindri Summa Amarndirukka Amma Ahakil Anmajodiye Nidanubhudiye Iradubidiye Inba Ambodiye. That is, the verse says to keep the Sol Manada Tanu, word, mind and body still without karma is what is said in Atmavidya Sankirtanam. Now, can karma arise without knowledge? If we don't pay attention at all, if we don't send the attention towards that or knowing of that, then how can karma arise? So, if we stop paying attention to the impulses which push us towards speech, towards objective knowledge, then obviously the karmas of speech, body and mind are stilled. When they are stilled, the verse says, when you have stilled yourself of the knowledge of this or knowledge of that or knowledge of anything, then what are you aware of? If you are not allowing the attention to impulsively or through the push of vasanas go towards others, then what are you aware of? You are aware of your own being, your own eternal being, your own real being. That is a powerful attention to the being. And thereby you become the reality, says the verse. You understand that you are the reality. If there is a reality, then your reality is one with that. That reality is called as the vast I. This I can see only so far. The mental eye can see only objectively. But the self-attentive self, the self-luminous self, is the limitless eye. Is the eye that does not see anything other than itself. It sees itself only everywhere. Even the word everywhere is not there. It's only seeing itself. So where is everywhere? So that is the vast eye. It is the unbounded space of consciousness. That is where your residence is that is what you are. The unbounded space of consciousness is what you are. The one who began the enquiry falsely associating with the body, the mind, and the speech, and trembling before the circumstances, now understands that one's own reality is the unbounded space of consciousness beyond all reaches of the objective knowledge, objective karma, therefore beyond the reaches of birth and death. You alone are the one who began the enquiry. As Taimanvar says, when the objective knowledge is still, then the Sat Chit Ananda, the Purna Vastu, like a fountain, it just gushes from within. I. So one's doership, one's knowership, one's being from limitations is completely transcended, and one identifies with the Supreme Being. It gushes forth. Bhagavan Ahaminashabhaj Aham Taya Spurati Pritsvayam Parama Purna Sat. The Purna Satvastu, when you eliminate the limitation of the ego, it just gushes forth, breaking all banks. And you understand this is the bliss that you were falsely superimposing on objects and objective knowledge. This is the limitless bliss. And Arunagirinatha says, the moment he said, Summa iru sollare, nothing remained for me to know. So in the verse, know nothing, come to bliss. Arunagirinatha says, Murugar gave the Upadesham. Then I realized there is nothing to know. What a wonder is this. One is in the limitless knowledge, limitless being. Tannai arindidil pin ennai uladu ariya. In the same Atma Vidya Sankirtanam, Bhagavan says, Tannai aridalindri pinnai edarigilyan. How does it matter that you know X amount of objective knowledge, or X squared or X cube or X power 100 times objective knowledge, if you don't know the self? And once you know the self, where is X, X power 2, X power 3, X power 100? They all vanish in front of self-knowledge. Arunagirinatha says, the moment he stilled the ego and realized the self, nothing else remained for him to know. What a wonder is this. See, the same bliss is expressed as a wonder. When the mind is in a wondrous state, it is full of bliss. That kind of wonder, it fills one with the limitless bliss from within. So Arunagirinatha expresses that limitless bliss as a wondrous state. And Tayumana Swamigal says that the Purna Vastu gushes like a fountain from within and breaks all banks in its limitless bliss. And the verse itself says, stop knowing this, stop knowing that, stop knowing anything at all, and be firm in your real being. That itself is the endless I, that itself is the unbounded consciousness. That's what the practice of Atma Vicharam takes us to. Let us sit in Atma Vicharam for the next 10 minutes. Ujjwalji, we'll rely on you for the timing. Thank you.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang by taking up the second verse selected for us, verse number 842. This too is in the segment meditation on the truth. The subsegment is the collective mind. The collective mind, verse 842. When you are separated from the self state, self is given as capital S or the Atma Swarupa. When you are separated from the Atma Swarupa, or when you feel separated from the Atma Swarupa, the thought that associates with you as my mind and your mind is itself the binding entanglement. When you are separated from the Atma Swarupa, the thought that associates with you as my mind and your mind is itself the binding entanglement. You should know that the pure mind is only one, existing ever the same, as it is, as the Chit Shakti, the power of consciousness, that remains merged non-dually with the Supreme Self, which is extremely clear and pure being. When you are separated from the Atma Swarupa, the thought that associates with you as my mind and your mind is itself the binding entanglement. You should know that the pure mind is only one, existing ever the same, as it is, as the Chit Shakti, the power of consciousness, that remains merged non-dually with the Supreme Self, which is the extremely clear and pure being. So when we normally speak, you speak as my mind and your mind, and that is the root of bondage, says the verse. And Bhagavan's teaching is that the world is present in the mind. The world is present in the mind. The mind is merged in the self. Therefore, the world and the mind are both merged in the self. So even when we are listening to someone or speaking to someone, there is only one mind. There is this interesting conversation between one of the disciples of Bhagwan. He was a Swamiji, but he had stayed on as a disciple. He was very much interested in science. Madhava Tirtha, I think. And he asks Bhagwan, Einstein says that the same happening, the same cosmic happening, is seen differently by two different observers in two different places. The same cosmic event is seen differently. In the theory of relativity, Bhagavan says the error lies in taking that there are two observers. There is only one root observer. So whenever the thought of others come, I should not allow the mind to go behind that thought. Because what is the mind? The mind is nothing but the I thought. When I allow that stage for the one eye to divide as many eyes, that is where my mind and other minds I separate and get trapped in the multiplicity. I feel there are 10, 12, 15 people in the satsang, where when the I is allowed to really feel that there are so many eyes. There what one should inquire? One should inquire, for whom is this thought? There are other eyes. For me, who am I? There, the mind, it brings everything, all thoughts together in that one eye. And that is the mind, the so-called universal mind. Bhagavan will never say there is a universal mind or an individual mind. It is always individual mind for Bhagavan. The individual keeps on digging and finds that he is the self. The individual, the Atma, is itself the Brahman. Now, why posit another collective mind or collective subconscious and all that? When Chadwick asks this, okay, I agree that the world is in the mind, but shall we call it as universal mind? Bhagavan will say, why give all those terminologies? It is the individual mind only. Only it has realized its own truth. So, we should catch hold of our error at one of these places. And one of the prime places where we can catch hold of our error is the feeling that my mind is separate from other people's mind. And in psychology, there is the separate branch where the study of mind, especially as it happens in others and as it happens in oneself, is there. Whereas Bhagavan shows that there is only one observer, one mind, one I thought, and it can be reached in self-enquiry. It is not some theory. We can actually reach and experience it when we don't allow the thought to proceed that there are other minds or there are other eyes. When we feel so many names are there, 7 billion names are there in the world, for whom is this thought? Okay, names are all false, given by different parents. 7 billion eyes are there. For whom is this thought that there are 7 billion eyes? For me. Who am I? Unifies the mind. So there is no other mind to argue with. There is no other mind to convince. There is no other mind to check whether X is realized, Y is not realized, whether this guru is realized, that guru is realized. Can you believe this? That the conflict of all personalities is completely gone. Just by this simple task of not allowing the thought to do that flowering, as there are many eyes, one has to gather the strength and ask, for whom is this thought? Then there is only one mind, and that one mind remains merged in the Supreme Self, which is the self-luminous self. Only when you gather like that, we can see that this Shakti, the Chit Shakti, cannot be apart from the Atmaswarupa. Otherwise, we feel using the Chit Shakti, we can do so many things. Using the Chit Shakti, I will change this or I will change that. I will build a better place, I will have a better possession. But all that gets absorbed, the world gets absorbed in the mind, all the other minds gets absorbed in one I thought. That one I thought, which is the Chit Shakti, it gets absorbed in the Atma Swarupa. That way, one realizes that one doesn't become the Atma Swarupa. One is oneself the Atma Swarupa here and now. But out of ignorance, we have divided ourselves as many. You can see that split happening. Where? Within you. The place where the mind divides as the others, hold it and take it to the Swarupa. There the Purna Chit, it rises and shines as I. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in the actual practice of not dividing the mind as I and others by practicing Atmauchara. Let's sit in self-enquiry for the next 10 minutes. Ujjwalji, we can trouble you again.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. May I request Dileep Simha ji to give us the summing up remarks? Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana, sir. Sri Adi Shankaracharya gives a very beautiful analogy, because these two verses are from the meditation. So we have to meditate on what is the error that we do. So he gives a very beautiful analogy, which I thought I will share, which Nandakumar ji very beautifully brought out also. The analogy he gives is, let us say a man has gone to a house. He has been invited, a Brahmin, let us say. He has been fed well and given a lot of money to carry back. And he sits in a bullock cart and is traveling, and he dozes off to a sleep. Say his amount, whatever the thing which was given to him, is looted. Then obviously after he wakes up, if he searches for it and he doesn't find, to get bewildered is quite natural. But if he says, on the other hand, if this man who had the food and slept, but he was not really given anything, but in his dream, when he slept after having the food, if somebody gave him some amount in the dream, and he was very happy for his sukruta that he got a good amount, and he woke up in the travel, then if he starts looking for that money which he received in the dream after having waken up, we can understand how much of trouble he would be facing, because it was not there with him in the waking state of him. That was not there, but it was given to him in the dream. But if he started to search for it, or if he started to look for it in the waking state in which he really never received it, we can understand how much of a bewilderment it is. So this analogy, Shankaracharya takes us to a next step. He says all of this waking state is like that. The I, the you, then the thoughts, then the world, then all this idea that I am a limited being, I am not the self, I need to get back to the self. Let us take all of this is that same wealth which was given to us in this waking state. And if we start looking for it again and again, when we want to really get back to the self, where really none of this is, which in the pure self, none of these are given. There is no mind other than the pure mind. There is no division other than the self. There is no object there. There is no suttarivu there. So if none of these are really there, like to the waking man, none of that, the gantu or the money was not given to him at all. It happened only in the dream which he slipped into. Like that, in the self, when we slip into this waking state, all of this thing which is given to us as an individual idea, as an individual person, I, you, many people, all of it. And if we take all of this which was given only in a dream, but if we hold on to it and contemplate on it, when we want to get back to the self that we verily are, where it is not at all given, then we can understand the bewilderment it is going to cause. So here, Bhagavan in the first verse very beautifully advises that don't give attention to this, don't give attention to that, don't give attention, because these were all given in a dream. All of this was given to us when we slipped into this waking state. And if we hold on to it. How do I let go this? Or what should I do with this? Or what should I do with that? Then we are still continuing in that same waking state, except that we are probably sitting with our eyes closed and thinking that we are meditating or doing anything. So he says the only thing is summa iru sollara, when it is said that just drop all of this. And what remains, don't even think, don't even have a thought of all of this, either holding on to it or to letting go it, because it was all in the dream. How we will not, in a real sense, if it was a real waking, a real dream that we had, and we lost the money which was given, and after waking we don't look for it, right? We know that it was a dream. Like that, drop all of this, says Adi Shankaracharya, which is what Bhagavan is suggesting. Drop all of this and that and all of that, which was only an assumed thing when we slipped into the waking. Drop it. Then what remains is the pure self. And that is the only way to kill the Suttarivu, to take the Suttarivu to be real, to take whatever was given in the dream to be real and try to find it in the waking, will never make us leave that, right? We are only holding on to it. Whatever we received in the dream, we are holding on to it in the waking, and we are trying to let go the same thing. How will it help us? It is impossible to let go. With the same example, if you take it now, that whatever is in the waking, whatever was given to us, the name, the identity, the thoughts, you, me, multiple divisions, objects, all of this, the world, the God, everything, that is what Bhagavan says. If we try to now give that a reality and try to hold on to it and be in the self, it is not a possibility. We are only in the waking state. Maybe our eyes are closed. Maybe we are sitting and meditating. But really, we have given a reality to all of the waking, like we have given the reality to the dream and holding on in the waking state. So when we drop this, that, and all of it, this analogy brings a very big clarity to us. But this analogy also has to be dropped, because this is also in the dream. This is also given to us in the waking state. So we have to get the essence of it. We have to understand the essence. And the essence is sollara, drop everything. Drop everything. Then what remains is only the real truth. It was very beautifully summarized and brought out to us by Nandakumar ji, and on how the Atma Vichara makes us all drop it. This dropping is what is made to understand finally that we need to drop all the identity, and the common identity is the individual idea. That is the first thought, the first identity which starts, and holding on to it, we get onto the you and all of it. So this is what is these two beautiful verses bringing us, that to recognize in the natural state of the self, there is absolutely no division. There is nothing sticking on to us except that pure, vast mind, which was told to us in the second verse, and the pure being, which was pointed out in the first verse. That is all that is. And that is the real ocean of bliss, where it's only bliss in all 10 directions, Nandakumar ji said, because there is no other. There is no object there. But all of the objective experience that we have, including the I, the individual idea, which is also an object, which is what Bhagavan says, is all in the waking state. And if we are holding on to it, even when we are trying to be the self, to abide in the self-abidance, then we are only continuing that waking state. That's all. So drop it, Sollara, drop all of it, says Bhagavan here. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana sir. May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to chant the Ramana Stotram. We will sit inquiring who is the listener. Namo Ramana.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूडिकाखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दिक्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभा भाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री शूर्णाचलहृद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादकसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा योगान् पुनः स्येकरात् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं योगोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो रमना, नमो रमना वैभव जी, नमो रमना प्रार्थना, नमो रमना उज्जवल जी, नमो रमना दिलीप जी, नमो रमना रेवती माँ।